Okay. Is that better if I talk loud?
No,
No?
I don't know about, you could ask others, but
Can everyone hear me okay?
you're way off in the distance.
Okay. How about
And I
now?
don't know if you have other people muted or not. You could ask Paula and Barbara.
Hello?
Can you hear me
Hello?
okay?
Hello, this is Barbara.
Hi, Barbara. Could you hear Kelsey?
Could she say something again, please?
Barbara, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear Kelsey.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
good.
All right. Well, thank you all for making the time. If you could mute,
You're still off in the distance, Kelsey, but I don't know if
I'm
if
trying.
you have a microphone or a headset, it might help.
I don't.
Okay.
No better, no good.
Page 301, all that stuff. Also,
So I'll talk loud. If everyone could mute themselves, and then
So-
we'll unmute when we have Q&A.
this will give us some insight into what we're learning. Hopefully, and reinforce.
Can't hear you, Kelsey. I don't know if you're on or not.
I didn't say it. I said, on your toes.
Trying to figure out how to mute everyone. All right.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
They were older.
Thank you.
They were redneck.
Could hear some rustling and people getting connected.
I'll never forget my aunt wore this wig and it looked like Cleopatra. Remember, and it was jacked up one day. My sister would ever like, let me straighten this hair up. Okay, your wig's a little crooked here.
All right, I'll see y'all.
Bye.
Have a good day. Hola. Oh, wait.
Can't walk.
All right.
Yo vine para acá por eso.
No, I know.
Qué vaina. No hay abanico. Thank you.
All right. Kelsey, I'm gathering that you're getting things connected right now.
Yes, I am.
I don't see you on the video anymore, so.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going through and muting everyone. So give me one more minute and then we'll begin. All right, I think I got everyone. Nick, can you?
One more minute and then we'll begin? Yes.
Okay.
It's a good idea. We'll get people connected.
Yes.
Just try yelling.
I know. I think I'm going to have to.
Yes, you can hear you at least.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for making the time. Let's go ahead and get started. I just had to mute everyone. I apologize about the delay. But we appreciate you taking the time. And welcome to What is a Trust and Track Leader? So in an industry, really quick housekeeping wise, I'm recording this now. So if you miss something, I'll send it out with everyone's email that we got when you registered. So no need to scrabble and write everything down. We will send it out so that you'll have that. So in an industry with over 100% turnover, we maintain less than 25%. So we just want to share some of those statistics with you right off the bat so that we know, so that it's a reason for you to kind of know where we're coming from and what we've accomplished. And now I'm going to briefly go over the 7 must-haves for a trust and track leader. And these we'll be talking about throughout the whole webinar, but I just wanted to share them up front. So a belief that people want to do their best, explicit purpose and values, reciprocal clear feedback, a system for advancement, leadership development programs, fiscal inclusion with open books, and then self-awareness and humility.
3 o'clock work. We'll have a new dog for you. They also have,
Okay. So without further ado, I want to introduce Nick, who is our founder of Nick's Pizza and Pub, author of How to Build a Big Little Business, The Slice of the Pie. And he will talk a little bit about trust, as well as the rest of the steps to being a trust and track leader.
Thank you, Kelsey. I appreciate you pull all the work that you put into pulling this together and getting all these people involved with our sharing of some of the things that we've found to support the success we've had in our industry and with the people at Nick's Pizza and Pub. It's great to be a part of. I can see there's from this list of folks, some have attended some of our leadership courses and some are new. So we'll just go through all this work and just share as much as we can within an hour of those 7 must-haves. Obviously not getting into all of them, but really some core elements of what we found and what we've built over the years. So it's interesting, starting right off with a belief in people and how that's so core in trust. It's interesting because when I started the restaurant business, and fortunately I opened the restaurants and it was busy because that's very fortunate. It's not always that way. It was really busy, and I had a lot of. I grew up, in an environment of entrepreneurship with my dad and my friends, and I was brought up being told how you can't trust anybody, and they're gonna steal from you whenever you turn your back, or they're gonna slack, or all those things. And in my core, really in my heart, I believe that was not true. My experience of people was that they did their best. And I remember when I opened the restaurant, I had to really put that to the test, that belief to the test, because we were way busier than I could handle on my own. It was, at that time, the restaurant was half the size it is now, but it was still 150 seats. And we were still doing huge volumes. So I had to trust the people that we had working. And I remember in the very beginning just training somebody we make our beef sandwiches in-house in the restaurants. And just that first experience of, okay, something so core to our menu, a family recipe, and so much care and I put into that product. And not only in cooking it, but also slicing it and making everything so perfect for the sandwiches, I had to hand it off to somebody. And I remember about a week into it, the first time doing it with Antonio. This guy, his name was Antonio, slicing the beef, and he messed up, and it didn't come out right. And sure enough, my dad comes in, has a sandwich, and says, "What the heck happened to this beef?" He's like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "You can't trust these people to do," and he went off on his rant like he usually does. And, and I took that as a learning experience versus instead of saying, "You know what, you're right, I can't trust anybody," what I took away from that was, okay, I actually made a mistake. I didn't train him as well as I could have. That's the issue. So that's where I started to really think about, how do I get clearer and more explicit about the training in the company? And that really is what has happened. The other part of the track part of trust is starting out with, yes, I believe in people and I trust them, and I'm going to track their results and their performance as well.
Yeah, and that's where, you've shared before that the trust and track, both parts are equally as important. You can't just trust and hope that they do what you train them to do, but we have to track.
Yeah, I learned that lesson as well. For sure, when I started, there was a time in the business where I really learned we developed our purpose and our values, and I was so moved by that work that I just wanted to trust everybody was going to be aligned with the purpose and the values, And that was all I needed to do. I could just trust them and hope that they're gonna perform at the highest level they could. Well, I soon learned after probably a few $1,000s worth of mistakes and lack of performance that trusting and hoping is not a strategy, not an effective strategy at least. So that's where I really got clear that we have to balance the two of those. And that's the opportunity here and what I want to share with what we do at Nix University or with even each of you here on this call is that this work is a real opportunity for us in our leadership and in creating a great culture where people want to be engaged. They actually look forward to coming to work. We're building a positive work environment. That's core to how we actually don't have to tell our people what to do. We intrinsically motivate them to want to perform at a high level and be a part of something special. So, yeah, go ahead. You can go to the next. It was about 7 years into the business before I met Rudy Mick, and he helped us with defining our purpose and our values. And that's where we actually decided to, first of all, we took a slice team of our company of A+ performers, went off site and defined who we were and why we existed. What was the difference about our company? Why were we here? Why was Nick's Pizza and Pub here? What difference were we going to make in the world? And that from that came our purpose. And then we also did the same thing with our values. We went off site with a group of top performers and defined our values. And by doing that, we actually shifted our culture from something that was an implicit culture of kind of read my mind when I'm there all the time. I expect you to smile and connect with the guests because I do, and which is great for one restaurant and one owner. It's just not scalable. And we shifted from that kind of culture to an explicit culture, to actually defining our culture and creating the culture we wanted to have. And that's just that act of defining our why and then defining our how, which is our values. And then the next part was to put systems and processes in place that supported our purpose and our values to be alive and vibrant in the culture, in the behaviors of our people. So we did that through, so not only was it, again, it's important in this process, and especially I think in leadership, to not just be a cop and police people, catch them doing things wrong and just tell. What's much more effective is to learn how to ask more effective questions in our leadership, how to tap into the spirit within other people, connect their behaviors, recognize those positive behaviors, tie it back to our purpose, or tie it back to the values, or both, whatever it might be. So a feedback process, again, something that we've developed here with Rudy's help and our Nix University, is the 3 different types of feedback, from feedback loop to performance feedback to direct feedback. 3 very, very effective, defined ways to be a coach, how to be a coach versus just telling people to be a coach. You go to the next. I don't know if I could control the next one. Kelsey, got it? Why don't you want to talk a little bit about ops cards?
Yeah, thank you.
Because it's an effective system.
One of the ways to be a trust and check leader is to have these systems in your companies that, help you with the training and with supporting your team. And one of those that we have at Nix is the ops card system. And as you see right there, there's a red side and there's a green side. And for each opening and closing task that we have a whole list of things that need to be accomplished. So what happens is, a team member will be wrapping up the shift and they'll want to go start their ops cards because they'll almost be done with their shift. And each detail on there explains how to do the task as if you were walking off the street. So they're very detailed in that they support our team to know what success looks like in each of the tasks that they're responsible for. And then when they're done, they flip it to green. And this really supports our leadership team in a quick eye glance of, have they started the ops card? Have they finished the ops cards? Where are they in the shift, and where, do we need them to be? If, labor's looking high, then maybe we need to rally behind them and increase motivation a little bit to get them done a little quicker. And, if the night was busy with business, maybe, they haven't been started yet, and we need to go ahead and get those started if, we still see red. So it's really a great system to track performance and where they're at in a glance. So these ops cards are just one of the many systems we have that really run themselves and help us to be, the best trust and track leaders that we can be. So, and just to keep going for our team, those training and coaching programs that we have really support each of us to be these leaders. Nick, if you want to talk a little bit about, our 101, 201, 301 systems that we have and how we invest in our team.
Yeah, it's one of the more positive aspects of our business that our team has really shared that really helps them get excited about working at Nix. So at Nix, the career path, and this is an opportunity for any business, is really however it works for you to have that career path, very, very transparent. For us, there's a chart on the wall in each restaurant that has everybody's name on there, all the different jobs and roles within the company, and any team member could actually get certified in all those different jobs and get their own raises. So the way we think of it, and the structure that I know applies for any industry, is thinking of our business in that same kind of structure like a school, where our team comes in, once they get through hiring, they come on to Nix and they go to orientation. And orientation is 2 days in our restaurants and 2 6-hour classes, and they're all about purpose and values and safe space communication and how we're going to get feedback. So really all this stuff about culture for 2 days, and really nothing about the task of making a pizza or pouring a drink or none of that stuff yet, because it's really just getting oriented around who we are, why we exist, and how we do what we do, and because that's just as an important product. Our culture and how we work together is just as an important product as the pizzas we make or the sandwiches or whatever product other people have. And after orientation, then everybody goes to 101, and 101 they get to understand and learn and make pizzas and make sandwiches, and make the hot dog, the beef sandwich, a burger, get their hands in our what, because the what actually is easier than the why and the how. Spend about 5 hours on the what in 101, and after 101, then the individuals will finally split off and go to what they were hired to do. So it might be bartender 201, cook 201, accounting 201, marketing 201, whatever that is. Get a trainer, get certified at the job they were hired to do, and once they're certified in that job, then they're off on their own to continue their own personal professional development in that certification structure that we have. So now they can also get, as they get more certifications, there's also another chart next to that shows the wage scale increases with more certifications. Pretty cool system. Again, that's at the 201 level. Then the 301 level is anybody at any time, anybody can go to 301, become a trainer at Nix, and that's where they go to our Trust and Track leadership courses and become trainers, get a part of profit sharing and preference and scheduling and some other benefits as well. Then once they're done, then at any point too, if they want to go to 401, 401 is also a leadership management program that helps them understand how to run the business. And if they want, they could go to 401 to open their own business. So it's a pretty good structure that we found to be really effective. And again, it applies to any business across the board. And the bottom line is that we're not just trusting our team to around purpose and values, but we're also giving them tools and coaching them how to use our purpose and values along with the job that they're hired to do. And then also putting their own destiny, their own career development in their own hands. It's a pretty great opportunity. So.
Well, and I think what's great about our orientation too, and that what some businesses may miss on, is that we take the time to slow down and talk about why we're here as a company and what systems we have to make each person successful.
Yes.
I think too many companies, worry about, okay, we have this person and we want to tell them how to do their job. Yes, we're going to get there. We're going to set them up for success in their each individual job. But first, we're going to take the time to tell them why we're here and what, our higher purpose is, because that's really what we're finding more and more employees are looking for. They're looking for, how do you make a difference in your day-to-day job?
Yep. Yeah, it's a great point, because it really is how we create meaning at work. And it's pretty human to want to be a part of something more meaningful. And again, it reinforces that these systems, and especially the business as a school, really reinforces our open books and totally transparent financials. Again, because everybody knows what everybody else is making. All they have to do is look at the chart or look at the color hat they're wearing, because that also signifies the rookie, pro, and expert levels of the certification program. So, real opportunity. You want to go ahead to the next slide then, Kels? We can talk a little bit more about open books as well. So I learned this process from a fantastic book by Jack Stack and Bo Burlingham called The Great Game of Business. And it's I don't know when. I think they wrote it back in the 80s or so. Anyhow, it came out of this work that Jack Stack had done when he worked for International Harvester, a manufacturer here in the Chicagoland area. And what we do and what the system supports us to do is put our profit and loss statement, that very important income statement, up on a whiteboard for our team to actually manage with us, to actually work through. So right there standing next to me is the whiteboard that we use, a big 4x8 sheet of dry erase board that we take off the wall, we bring upstairs. We bring it in the heart of the house every Friday at 4:30, and we do a meeting. And everybody gathers around, and when they gather around in real time, even though we're making pizzas while we're doing it, we're gonna talk about our financials. So there's a section there. The first 5 or 6 line items are our sales line items, starting with a critical number that we need to achieve. Then the second set of numbers is cost. And then the bottom part will be some things that we just want to pay attention to and maybe create some gains around that will help us achieve the numbers above as well. So with each line item, team members at all levels at NICS actually volunteer and take a line item. And when they take a line item, they have to report on their number, they have to deliver on their number, and they have to forecast their number. It's pretty cool, because what happens then is from 16 and 17-year-olds to 40, 50-year-olds, the team is learning financial literacy. They're learning how to forecast things like carry-out sales, bar sales, special events. They're learning costs, how to forecast food costs or beverage costs, really key things like that. And then they're also, because they own the line item, the team members own the line item, and they're committed to delivering on the number they forecast, they're also coming up with great marketing ideas on their own. Great ways to go out there and hit these numbers. That's where Shanda there on the left, she's a cashier in the Crystal Lake restaurant. And she was one of the ones that came up with the idea for Pizza of the Month, to actually have the team come up with different pizzas to have the menu be a little bit more innovative and change, and to support us hitting a guest count line item that she had, to get more guests in and share something different rather than their same old pizza that they order once a week. Now they have a reason to come in maybe twice a week or twice a month. So just I got all kinds of stories like that. But the bottom line is that the team is coming up with different ways to help us hit our numbers. It's a great system and very achievable. Again, we're with this system, as Jack says, we're creating a business of business owners. Huge opportunity, and it's not just the managers. But this also supports, one of the key things that we talk about in trust and track leadership. Probably one of the areas I've had the most challenge with in our culture and our organization is finding leaders, especially in the restaurant industry, actually, finding leaders that really, to me, are true leaders versus managers, and that difference between managing tasks and leading people. In the restaurant industry, typically, it's much more a command and control environment where managers are used to people coming up to them with problems and they solve the problems, which makes sense, right? They're problem solvers. They get paid the big bucks to solve problems. Well, really what we're talking about in trust and track leadership is actually we want our leaders to actually not solve the problem specifically themselves. They're in a position to support our team to solve problems on their own. So we're going to give them tools to support the team to have the answers, including things like issue value solution and having the team work through the values to get to a solution. It also requires the leaders in our organization to be really self-aware of their own behaviors and the messages they're sending with their behaviors. I found that self-awareness and actually leaders that are humble and not really ego-driven about, oh yeah, I have to prove anything. The ones that are really supporting the team to do their best and then recognizing the team to do their best, that's the difference. We talk about, and this might not come as a surprise to many people, but the subtlety of the message we send with our behaviors. It could be as simple as walking through our workspace and the people we tap on the back and say, how you doing and thank you, and the words we say with recognizing something that got done wrong or instead recognizing something that got done well is the difference. The other really important part of that leadership behavior, especially with today's generation, is modeling the behaviors that we want to see from our team. I believe in today's environment with this generation, especially, they have a different expectation of leadership. Most of the time, when I was a kid, I know that whatever my boss told me what to do, whatever he told me to do, I just did it. If he told me not to cut, don't make the pizza this way, and he made it a whole different way, or don't chew gum, and he was chewing gum, I just did what he was told. And nowadays, it's really important for us as leaders that if we're going to ask our team not to chew gum, we can't be chewing gum ourselves. We have to model the behaviors. And because that's the expectation of this generation. They're expecting values-centered leaders to actually be living the values themselves. Really core, really important. And that, to me, is actually a huge opportunity and something I'm grateful for. I'm glad that we have that kind of expectation from our team members because it pushes me to actually model it as well. Even something as where I get caught a lot is in sarcasm. I've gotten called out on that a few times. So when we talk about the self-awareness and humility, we also have to be open to a 16 or 17-year-old. And from my experience, like I had that example with Alan, one of our 17-year-olds who called me out on being sarcastic with him. Great guy, had a good friendly relationship with him. I had a sarcastic comment about him making a mistake on pulling ovens. And about an hour later, he calls me out and says, Nick, what did you mean by that sarcastic comment, with my mistake? It really made me feel like, especially in front of the other team members, that I had screwed up and you were making fun of me. And I was like, wow, holy cow, I apologize. That was not my intention. I apologize for the impact. I forgot, and I thought, well, him and I understood this inside joke, and I forget that there's a whole bunch of people around us who don't understand that inside joke, and that's why sarcasm is not effective, especially as a leader. So a really important part about the language we use and the method and how we need to be consistent in the message we send with our team members.
Well, and I think you demonstrated it perfectly, Nick, with your example of communication. And one thing that we don't really touch on with the 7 steps is part of being a trust and track leader is having effective communication. And part of our trust and track leadership class is spent, a day and a half is spent on learning these communication tools to work through conflict and to foster that development and training environment that we have, learning from each other, and how do we work through even that example that you shared, how do we work through that and communicate effectively with each other so that we can learn and grow together. So that's really, I thank you for sharing that example, because that really, made it clear that, with being a trust and track leader, we have to have that effective communication as well.
Yeah, that's so key. It goes back to the reciprocal feedback process in our culture in this leadership program. Safe space communication, again, one of Rudy's tools, the conscious communication tool that we bring to this class, really creates an environment. So instead of, in most organizations, most companies, instead of avoiding conflict and saying, okay, I had a difficult time working with that person, I'm going to avoid them and not work with them. Instead, we give our team a tool, a safe space communication tool with several bullets on it to say, don't avoid that conflict, because within that conflict is an opportunity for us to connect with our people and an opportunity for us to perform at a higher level. So here is how you can work through the conflict. Use this communication tool. And yeah, it might feel yucky in the beginning to step into that. The result is by the time we come out of it, we're gonna have a great amount of trust, and we're gonna have safe space. Very cool. Very important part. Yeah, thank you, Kelsey. So you want to take us through this next, there's a lot of places to start. We could start with purpose and values, and and understanding our why and how, and also coming to one of our classes here at the Nick's University, and really again it goes back to, because I worked for companies before this where they said, yeah, we want you to be a coach, we want you to coach our team, and I hear this a lot with a lot of businesses. Of course we want our managers to be coaches. Well, how do you teach them to be a coach? There's not a lot of effective ways, in my experience, of managers learning how to be a coach. We're going to give you really effective feedback processes, safe space communication tools, how to work through drama, with Cartman's Drama Triangle, how to coach from 4 different positions, being an ally, a guide, a teacher, or an activist. We're going to really give people the tools to create that self-awareness as leaders and be an effective coach. You want to build on that a little bit, Kels, for me? I feel like I'm talking a lot.
Yeah, no problem. Well, these are just we've laid out just the first few steps that we feel that, where people want to know where you start. So definitely, like you said, we offer, a number of classes. It's easy as picking up your book, because you do explain a lot of these things that we discussed in your book and in more detail. So that's one way that you can start this process. Another way is to come to our next leadership class, where these tools are taught in great detail.
Yeah.
And then we also have the online course.
Right. So before we get into Q&A stuff, what comes to mind for me is this opportunity that we all have in our organizations and just leading people, whether we're leading our employees, our team members, or we're leading our kids. There's a lot of similarities here to being a parent and being a trust and track leader. And I'm going to borrow a quote. I just heard Simon Sinek at an event here in Chicago we did together, and I love this quote that he said about the difference is we go from being individual high performers and being responsible for results. We're responsible for results at the individual level when we're high performing and being technicians and doing a great job. Then we get into we get promoted in our company because we got such great results and we're a high performer. Next thing you know, we're managers and we're in a position to lead people. And then we have to shift our mindset and understand that we're no longer in charge of results as leaders. Leaders are not in charge of results, as Simon pointed out so well in this last event we were at. Really, leaders are in charge of people. That's the difference, and that's what we have to understand. And our people will get the results as we most effectively take care of our people. So that's just so core to building great cultures and having a great positive place to work in our organizations. Love to talk more about that with any questions that people have.
Yeah, let's open it up. If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, if you have a question for Nick. Or if you want to throw them in where's the chat section? There we go.
Yeah, if you put people in chat and see, it looks like everybody's muted, so I'm not sure how you do that. But you're the magician with this system. I love that you have it. This is great technology. So I see someone wanting to chat there, but love to hear what's a challenge. What's your greatest challenge at work right now that you'd like an answer for? You'd like some way to work through. Not that I would have an answer, but some ideas of how to work through that challenge and get some resolution.
Nick, talking with Beverly, who's in the pet industry, she has the same challenges we do with the seasons. We're busier in the summer and they're busier, in the summer as well, but they really have a tough time with, when we go on vacation, our pets have to go there. So they have the same struggle with, their team wants to be off when their busy times are, just like our team. So how do you support them with that? What's a key advice that you would give them?
My suggestion is to actually put the scheduling in the hands of the team. I know that might sound a little chaotic and a little risky for some people, but what I've seen is that the team will outperform our expectations when we put them in the position to actually solve and come to their own resolutions. So we also in doing that, in giving the team the schedules, for example, and being in charge of labor and staffing, we also need to reinforce the task with goals, like financial goals of, how do we, and this is where, again, where Open Book supports it, is what financial goals do we need? What kind of labor numbers? Why do we actually have to have people on? How many people do we have to have? What's the budget for that, for the scheduling? And also tying it to our purpose. What is it we need to create in staffing up for these days or these shifts or whatever it might be? Always tying back those processes back to the purpose, and then using the values as a guide to help get there, help make those tough decisions. Sometimes they're really tough decisions about not giving someone a day off that they really wanted to, or supporting them to get it covered by someone else in trading days or something like that. So that's the key, is just handing that system off, but also giving the team the training and the structure to support them to succeed and coach them along the way.
Well, and I think one thing that I enjoyed too when I was a server was that the schedules were up for 3 weeks in advance. So that's, just one quick tip that I think would support even teaching our team about life lessons. You must plan ahead. So how do we support them with that? Jessica says, do you always have people move up the ladder into management type positions, or do you hire specifically for the upper level positions?
Yeah, it's both. Ideally, we have a very, again, by having a career path so open and transparent like that, people could choose to go at their own pace. Ideally, we like to continue to cultivate and develop people from within the company, and that's what happens most of the time. At the same time, I also believe that it's not always the healthiest culture to have everybody in the organization come from the bottom up. There's value in having an outside perspective, an outside leader come in at the executive level or at the manager level, GM or manager level as well. So we have hired, actually we just hired someone brand new from the outside to, again, have some of that balance and bring in some really strong experience, diverse experience to enrich our team as well. So we do both, just the latter is not as much.
Great. Well, thank you for that question. Another one, how do you turn around a low performer?
I believe if you're talking about the low performer on the individual level, I think it's all about, I'm assuming that's what you mean, not the low performing company, which is probably both happening at the same time, actually, because that low performers having an impact. Really what I think is important is, again, it goes back to a culture of choice and the feedback system. So what I found to be most effective with a low performer is coaching in the moment. Recognizing, I start with finding the positive within the negative. Finding the positive things that person's doing, recognizing those things, little incremental steps, how having them really achieve those incremental improvements, and then at the end of every shift, doing a feedback loop with them. Ask them what's one thing they noticed they did well, and have them own what's one thing they could do to enhance their performance. And then take that learning to the next day, to the next shift, and then reconnect. What's your focus? How are you going to improve? And keep that discipline discipline of day-to-day shift-to-shift performance improvements and let them join you in the tracking of the increased performance, or have the lack of performance be just as, they'll be owning that lack of performance just as much as you are, because you're doing feedback loops at the end of every shift and having them actually identify those expectations. Really clear expectations along the way. So the other part that I found that is probably a little bit more challenging is as leaders, where I've aspired to be like myself and I've seen in other leaders, is the ability to inspire others, is that ability to find the spirit, the true meaning of inspiration, is to find the spirit within other people and tap into that spirit. So whatever that low performer is, what is it that motivates them to get out of bed in the day? If we could somehow tap into that, something that they might like to do outside of work, and have them connect what that is to the work that they're doing, that's another huge opportunity if we could do that. So.
Well, I think that feedback handout that we have would really support this group. So I'll include that in the email when we stop this recording too.
Great idea. Like that idea, Kels.
Let's talk about the class a little bit. We opened a class specifically for dog daycare owners because we saw, Beverly and Jessica really went out there and were a voice for us in sharing their experience of our leadership class.
Oh yes, all the pet care owners that do the, yep.
So that class is on October 5th and 6th, and then those that are on this webinar that may not be in the dog industry, we also have the October 26th and 27th class as well.
Yep.
So I just wanted to really quick make sure we talked about those two dates. And then we have another question coming in. How often are your certification classes held? And how often do you hold 301 classes?
Great question. So just back to this trust and track leadership, our July, so what you're saying, I believe our July course is all filled up right now. Is it booked solid, Kels? The one we're having on the 20th or whatever that is?
The 20th and 21st, yeah.
That one's filled up. Okay. All right. Cool. I just wanted to make sure because I didn't see those dates on here. So that's great. Again, just like our last one. Yeah. How often are we doing 201 classes? So we schedule orientation once a month. And so whether we need orientation or not, we won't have it if we didn't hire anybody, but we schedule it once a month. And then the 201s for the entry level will be tied to an orientation. But the other 201s that help people continue their career development are, there's sign-up sheets in the restaurant, and those are held at a as-needed basis. When we get people signed up for learning how to, cut dough or roll dough or make salads or be a cashier, whatever those are, we have those open. And what's interesting is there's a perception that if you're doing all this training, holy cow, it must be so expensive. You have to do, you have all these classes going on. Well, what's happening is we have team members, we have 16, 17-year-olds that have gone to Trust and Track Leadership who are now trainers, and they're actually training on the shift. So this happens while on a regular shift. It's not something that's an extra expense or done outside the class. Sure, there'll be a little bit of a 201 class that might take an hour or two that might be ahead of it, but other than that, the rest of the training is on-the-job training in the shift while we're all working. So that's the balance of how it actually works and supports the operations of the business while we're developing people. It's kind of hard to explain, and it's a great process. Come join us and you get to see how it happens firsthand. And we also will do, I just saw that little window pop up from Lanray about martial arts. Yes, we will do martial arts specific trust and track leadership courses as well. We just need to have, again, once we get a 20-person turnout, we'll make it just for that industry. We've done that before.
Mhm. Great.
The whole thing for us, me, Kelsey, Amy, Rudy, really it's just about getting this work out in the world. And I'm very open to making whatever needs to happen. So we develop more conscious communication and trust and track leadership and have more companies that are creating meaning at work, meaningful places to work, because I really believe that that's how we impact people's lives on a day-to-day basis. So people really have more fulfilling lives. That's the result. It's really fun, and that's my purpose. So happy to make things happen.
Yeah, so people are asking about, where the classes are located, and
Yep.
so I just wanted to speak to that a little bit. It's actually a whole day event. It starts at 11 and it goes till 9:30 at night. And what we really want to give you is the Nick's experience in the restaurant. So that's where we start with lunch and individual coaching with Nick and Rudy, and spend a lot of time with, these other leaders that are working on their own skills. And then at night, we bring our team, 17, 16-year-olds who are becoming trainers as well. And we go to a local hotel, and that's where we have our leadership class. That's the actual session where we learn these communication tools, these drama tools, these feedback tools during the 4 to 9:30 time. And then the same process is again the next day, but we have our panel of team members that speak about what it's like to be in this purpose-driven company. So that holds a lot of energy for people as well, to hear firsthand that this culture works and that they really enjoy working in this type of environment. It really gives a lot of motivation to these trainers and these leaders that are coming in from other restaurants and other businesses to see that it's working.
Yeah. I mean, so the where for the trust and track leadership course is because we want to have some private space. We do rent a room outside the restaurant. The other courses, the culture course, it's a one-day course, a 6-hour course we actually do in the restaurant. Our hiring for low turnover, what we call retention, and that process is a 2-day course, and that we actually do in the restaurants as well. So a lot of so it's a mixed bag. We'll do things in different places, along with the online courses that we're developing as well. And we're not the only ones that have found great success in having an intentional, explicit culture. I mean, it's of course, Google's been doing this for years. Big companies like Whole Foods, Southwest Airlines, those are the ones that have gotten the big press. And they're also the ones that have the $1 million budgets. For us at Nick's and companies like us, like Zingerman's and stuff, we want to bring this to the everyday small business owner, medium-sized business owners, and get this work out there in the world, because the small businesses really are the fabric of our country, and that's really the opportunity. That's why our courses are more where the rubber meets the road, practical systems that everybody could do. So hopefully that answers those questions.
Oh, one more. We have a little bit of time. So let's answer this last question. How often do you have team building events with your staff?
Always, I guess. I think that, we're just about to embark in a case study from the University of Illinois in Chicago around self-managed teams. Really what we're doing here is team building happens from day one, from orientation. It's ongoing always. I mean, it's one of our values, actually. Our team works through support and cooperation. So that value isn't something that just happens sometimes. It happens every day, all day long. So all these really in the restaurant environment, being in a fast-paced and pretty intense environment actually supports us to actually do team building all day long, every day, because we have that kind of culture. So in an office environment where people are in cubicles, that might be a little bit more challenging. There, you may, I would suggest probably doing more events that would support team building. At the same time, having a fiscal huddle every day is another way to, again, get the team involved in a team building event as well. And so there's other things you can do on a day-to-day basis, and with a culture where you have off-site and virtual team members, for sure, I would suggest doing some events that would get people together and connect on an experiential level around purpose and values and the difference you're making in your organization. Yep.
Great.
So,
And yes, I will send out the recording of this webinar and then
yeah.
information to enroll in these leadership classes coming up in October.
Yep. Yeah, we want to get this out in the world, so we're going to share it for sure in whatever format works. If you want to call us, email, whatever, text us, whatever works for you, will be support.
Great. Well, that brings us up 5 minutes early, so we're going to wrap up now. We thank you all for your time, and thank you, Nick, for making time to be on this webinar with us.
Yeah, thank you, Kelsey, again, for pulling this together. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to share with so many people. This was a huge turnout, a huge turnout. So that's really cool. And thank you very much. And please be in touch in any way, whether you want to come out and have a pizza and ask me. I'll give you a behind-the-scenes tour in the moment, or join us for one of our classes. Whatever works. Thank you very much. Take good care.
Great.
Bye
Thank
now.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.